So if you have any questions on Zoom interface, you can use the chat icon at the bottom of your screen, find my name, and send a message directly to me.
All right, everyone. Good morning. Or good afternoon right now. Yeah, still morning.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ileana Mendoza. Welcome to Google Camp. If you guys want to connect on social media, hashtag IE Google Camp on Twitter or on Instagram. Also, if you have any questions during the meeting, you can send me a private chat. Again, my name is Ileana Mendoza, and I can help you with that. You can also go on the Sched app and hit help at the top of the page. And the title of the session is Jamboard and You, and our presenter today is Brianna Davis. So I'm going to go ahead and give it over to her.
You're on mute, Brianna.
That would help. That would help a lot, huh? Always a bad thing. Okay, so there we go. I'm not on mute, and let me put this back up there. Why are my keyboards not working? Oh, shoot. Okay. Whew, sorry about that. Good morning and welcome to Jamboard and You. The copy of this presentation is actually going to be put into the chat. It is also in the Sched. So I made it a bit.ly. This entire Google slide presentation will be shared with you. I'm going to strongly suggest that you do go ahead and make a copy of it. I have lots of things to share with you today. Mainly the idea of a folder that has over 45 Jamboard templates that are pretty much ready to go. And all you have to do is share or make a copy of them. So here's what I'd like you to do before we kind of get started and I do all of the introductions and things. If you could go to menti.com. And if you would prefer to use the QR code, it's right there. Have a little, just a one question that I'd like you to answer so that I can kind of know as we head into this, in this adventure, this Jamboard adventure, where you are in terms of your familiarity with Google Jamboard. So I have the link for you if you're in the slide deck. If you go to menti.com, or you can QR code it right there. I'm going to wait maybe like a minute or two, and then I'm going to show you the results as well. So if you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. There's so much going on right now. I'm like overwhelmed here. Leave that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the results, and you should be seeing that. So if you go to menti.com, you have the results, and look at that. So just based on what I'm seeing, this is fantastic that maybe you've never used it, but hopefully by the time we leave today, you're going to have a chance to play with it as well. Because I figure the best way to learn Jamboard is to also play with it. So thank you for doing that. I'm going to leave that up and we can come back to the results a little bit later. So let me come back to my presentation. All right, so my name is Brianna Davis. I am a high school history teacher in Camarillo, California. And this slide has all of the how to get a hold of me kind of things. The bit.ly is also there as well. I created a parking lot and it is actually a Jamboard. If there are any questions, I can't guarantee I'm actually going to be able to like get there and maintain internet security and not crash. So I also would strongly encourage you to use the chat. If you are familiar with the Jamboard world or the world of Google, Jamboard is, there's also an app for it, and the mobile version is so much fun. And that's my Twitter handle, my email address, everything I'm going to share with you today, you're going to get a copy of. And that's going to probably, like, hopefully rock your world. I'm going to show you a few examples and also give you a chance to play. So that being said, if you're here and you're wondering what is Jamboard, well, first off, it is an actual 55-inch collaborative whiteboard. But if you don't have $5,000 lying around and the ability to provide that interactive space to your students or even your own classroom, and being that most of us are virtual, Jamboard is fantastic for a virtual whiteboard. It is kind of like a think space. It's going to give you an opportunity to have students talk to each other. There is the app, there's an app for it. If you're on an iPad with an Apple Pencil, I'll show you that in just a minute. You have the ability to do handwriting recognition, shape recognition, where you're drawing it and then Google's going to try and interpret what it is that you actually wanted it to be. On the computer version, whether you're on a Chromebook, a PC, a Mac, you do have the ability to create Jamboards. And when you have a Jamboard in motion, it's called Jam. It's not like Raspberry Jam meets bulletin board, although that's one excellent way to think about it. That's how I like to think about it sometimes. But we're going to focus mainly on the computer version, unless you have an app or you have it already downloaded. The best part about Jamboard, the thing that you need to know most importantly, is if you use Google Classroom, it is extremely easy to share a jam with your students. It is collaborative, so you can have up to 50 people in one Jamboard at the same time. And so I've created multiple copies since there's a lot of people here today. They live in your Google Drive, and it is part of the core services. So if you don't have access to Google Jamboard with your education account, you need to just reach out to your tech department and you need to say, please unlock this super awesome tool because I want to use it for X purpose. And because it lives in your drive, you can actually create a folder where you can put all of your Jam templates. And that is actually what I'm going to share with you a little bit later. You're going to get all of them from me. This is actually a picture that I took. This is a screenshot, really, of a jam that I've created. And this is one that I'm going to share with you a little bit later. I love Jamboard for its post-it note feature. You can also insert images to a jam. The shape recognition, auto draw, handwriting recognition are super awesome. Now, how to access Jamboard? These are actually links. So there are 3 ways to get to Jamboard. First off, it is in your Google Drive, and I'm going to show you that. You can also go to jamboard.google.com, and that is where you can find them. Jamboard.google.com, you're going to actually see all of my Jamboards here in just a minute, and there are an awful lot of them. If you don't want to do that, or you're in your Google Drive, you can also go to the waffle, and it should be right there. It's a little J, you can't miss it. It's like Jamboard, and that is another way to access. So if you don't want to go to jamboard.google.com, where they are organized by date, you can also go through the waffle, and you can create a new one right there, the plus sign at the bottom. That is going to allow you to create a new jam. You'll then get the option to name it, just like you would a Google Doc or a Google slide. And it kind of gives you a nice, way overly populated is what I like to say, because I have been very busy over the last few days creating a bunch of templates, sharing templates, finding them on Twitter, adding them to a folder so that it would make it much easier for all of you to access as well. So you can also use an app. The app is available in the Google Play Store. It's available in the App Store on an Apple device. And if you are using the mobile version of Jamboard, that's the only way you have the option to have like the hand recognition, the shape recognition, and it's like way more fun is how I like to look at it. If you want like straight lines, if that's kind of something that you're, you know, into. If you have an Apple Pencil and you use the mobile app, you can actually draw a straight line and it will change it into an actual straight line. There's backgrounds, there's a lot of things. So on a computer, this is just like, so a little preview of coming attractions here. You have a pen, but in addition to the pen, that little arrow pulls out, and you also have a marker, a highlighter, and a paintbrush. Currently, Google Jamboard only has 6 color choices. You have an eraser if you make a mistake. You have a select tool. You have sticky notes. You have the ability to insert images. And then you have a laser pointer. I mean, who doesn't love a laser pointer? I know I do. It's kind of fun if you want to, you know, highlight certain things and give students an opportunity to express themselves. You can use this for lots of different purposes. So I came up with the top 10 reasons why you should use Jamboard. And in no particular order, because, you know, they're not actually in order, but the idea that it does live in your Google Drive, and that makes it much easier to find, organize, and then add to Google Classroom. You can collaborate, and you can have students have conversations with each other where they are looking at certain things. Sticky notes or Post-it notes are the best. Adding images, you can add images from your Google Drive. You can add images from a Google image search because it is part of the G Suite for Education. It is there and it is free. I mean, hello, who doesn't love free? You can use it in a Google Meet if you wanted your students in a live class session to all maybe check in and kind of give an opportunity to say, hey, here's how I'm feeling today. You can get the app on an iPad or Android device, and you can have up to 50 people at one point in time. And then, of course, obviously, yes, there's a laser pointer. And that laser pointer gives students and you as a presenter or anybody who's presenting a Jamboard an opportunity to actually like show off and to show what they know. So that's pretty awesome. This is just a list, and this list is not even like complete in terms of all of the different ways you can use Jamboard. But I'd rather actually have you play with Jamboard rather than just give you a bunch of ideas. Almost every single one of these has actually been turned into a template either by me or by somebody on Twitter, by someone else. And I have just done the easy and most obvious thing of file, make a copy. And when I made a copy of that Jamboard, I then become the owner of it. And then I can share that Jamboard with whomever I want, wherever I want. And by sharing a Jamboard, I can then say, you have permission to edit, or you have permission to just view it. So since there's up to 50, but what I have done is I've actually created, not an assignment, I don't want to call it homework, but I've created something for you to do with a Jamboard. And so if I go into the comments, Ileana's going to actually put a link. So I have 9 different versions of the Jamboard since there's more than 50 of you. And so you're going to pick, you can pick really your favorite number between 1 and 9. And if somebody is already there, if there's already 50 people, well, really, I can only have 34 because then like 16 people won't have anything to do. But let me show you what it's going to look like. Because the Jamboard practice, there's 20 frames. That's the other thing I kind of forgot to mention, sorry. There's a limit to 20 frames in an actual Jamboard. And when the links get there, there should be 9 different practices. So you can have up to 50 people, and you'll know how many people are there because I've given you all edit access. And so if I'm trying to get number 9 to open, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Let's see here. Close that. Close. Oh, didn't want to close that. But that's okay. We're going to close them. We're going to close some tabs here. But when you see that link, and this is number 9, so there are 8 others of them. I want to show you, so nobody's in here yet, but that's okay. These 3 little dots, those are the magic 3 dots, where I have the option to rename it. I can save that frame. So if there's one thing I want, I can just save it. I can remove it. The interesting side note on Google Jamboard is you cannot, on a Jamboard, there's no version history. So if your students like to delete things because they don't want to do the work, it's gone and there's no getting it back. But if you set it up in such a way that makes it easier to actually find and make it, super fun, there are backgrounds. I forgot to mention that, but you can start playing around. So when you get into one of these 9 Jamboards, you'll then have a copy of it. You have editing rights to this. So you can move the Post-it notes around, but on frame 2, this is where I kind of wanted you to see and play around. On frame 2, I'd like each of you to grab a sticky note, and you have color choices on that sticky note, where you are going to put your name on the sticky note, and then you're going to put it in one of those columns. I'm showing number 9, but all 9 of them are almost identical. And then move your sticky notes into a particular column. This is what I like to call like the check-in jam, where if I wanted to take attendance or I wanted to see where you were, I could do that. You have transparent sticky notes, you have yellow, blue, pink, green, and you can have the ability to duplicate. Then on frame 3 through 19, so frames 3 through 19, I want you to pick side A or side B, and you're going to actually move the sticky note and you're going to unveil an emoji. So what I did with this one is I actually combined the random emoji paragraph with Jamboard, and I kind of made it 2 for the price of 1. So I want you to find a slide, find a frame, and I want you to actually like play around. I want you to move the Post-it notes. I want you to find the 3 emojis, and then I want you to write a paragraph. This is what some people would call the random emoji paragraph, where you're going to add a sticky note. Then you can play around. This is now your frame. So once you have, you and 33 of your closest friends in a Jamboard, I want you to just kind of spend, like I'm going to give you probably about 5 to 7 minutes to play around, and then I will cut off your access and make it view only, and I'll show you how to do that. So play, have fun, and I'm going to come check the chat too. All right, let me spy on a few of you. Okay, so I'm looking in the comments, and there should be, I'm gonna check my sharing settings. Can you tell me which one in the comments is not letting you play? Because they should all be. Anyone can edit number 7 and number 4. Okay, let me check number 4. I made 9 copies, so it got a little confusing after a while. Let me check the sharing settings. On number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many Jamboards can I open at once? The answer is all of them. Maybe. If number 4 did not work, you could try a different one. Oh, yep, that would be because number 4 is view only. So if you're in number 4, it's now everybody. And I will show you how I did that. So if you just refresh your screen, if you're in Jamboard number 4 RCOE Jamboard practice, I have now given you access. I apologize for that, but I'll still give you a few minutes to play. I will show you how to share the slides. And what I just kind of wanted you to do is, again, you're seeing how, you know, there's a lot of you, and the idea is that everybody is in here at once. So I can see that there's 18 people in Jamboard number 4. And I can't lock it. So the idea here is if, you know, something gets deleted, I know it's unfortunate, but sometimes that happens. And I had to change the sharing settings. That was the one that I didn't. My emoji is moving on frame 2, and that's okay. But if you just added a sticky note, I've got how many of them open right now? A lot. And you should all have editing rights to it. I probably will have to go in later on the back end and change your editing rights. But I will show you how also to share these Jamboards and then how to assign it in Google Classroom very quickly, because it won't take that long, I don't think. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to play and to kind of, you know, check how you can interact with a Jamboard with, you know, 27 of your closest virtual friends that you may or may not know. That's what makes a virtual conference so much fun. You have virtual friends that you've never met.
Brianna, there's a question. It says, can you see which students are responding and making changes?
No, so that is one of the downsides of Jamboard, is there is no version history. So if you had a student who decided to go in and clear that frame, so that button will wipe out everything on that particular frame. And so that is definitely a downside, but in Google Classroom, you can also give them the option of just having them have their own copy. So if they delete it, then they have to reach out to you to start over. But there's also the option of having everyone edit together. So depending on your class size, you could have more than, you know, if you have more than 50 in a class, that's a lot. But if you had more than one student who was, you know, doing that and you were all editing together, and you had one Jamboard for the whole class, you could kind of keep an eye on that. If you gave each of them their own copy, it would be a little tricky, or you would know that, hey, they just cleared the frame, and that erases everything, including like if you were doing it and you were building a jam and then you accidentally hit that button, because I've done it once or twice, you do lose everything, which is kind of sad. And because there is no version history, you don't get it back, unfortunately. So there is that norming and that kind of setting that expectation with your students of, hey, this is how we use this. I'm gonna pull you all back to my presentation, and I'm gonna go back into my presentation. So if you have this open in a new tab, if you want to come back, I want to show you how to assign it in Google Classroom, and I'd like to show you how I shared all of those. So that's kind of a nice thing to know. Okay, so these are the resources that I have put together for you. And each one of these links is going to take you to a different place. I created a one-pager, so it's kind of like a one-page overview of everything I talked about today, with a lot of links to videos, tutorials on how to use Jamboard. The one thing that I absolutely positively want to share with you is the folder. So this resource right there of the Jamboard folder is truly going to be, for me, it was a game changer. When I decided that I could create all these templates and give people not editing, you only have view only. I don't give a lot of people editing privilege to anything. But I'm going to use number 4 as an example. So there's several people still in number 4. It's nice to see you. Regardless of what number you joined. So if you were in number 1 through 9, if you come to that share button, that is where you, as the owner of that Jamboard, you can set the sharing settings. So I'm going to change number 4 right now. So if you are in number 4 and you are still playing, I'm about to take away your privilege, sorry. And it is defaulted, so I'm in my school account. So I teach in the Oxnard Union High School District. I can give access to anybody in my district, or I typically prefer anyone with the link, especially if I'm in a situation like this, where I'm sharing with 215 of my closest virtual friends. But you currently have editing privileges. So to the 19 of you in there, I'm about to change that. You now have view-only access. And once I hit done, you have lost access. It is now no longer accessible by you. You can simply view it. So you are anonymous animals, but I have taken away your access. On those 3 little dots, which are on every jam, you have the same choices. You can rename it so it's easier to find. You can make a copy. So if you are given view-only access to a Jamboard, you need to use the 3 dots and you need to make a copy for yourself. Now, what I have found to be the easiest way for me, and this is so that I can organize my jam because there is no folder for Jamboard. I created a folder in my Google Drive. And so when I get a jam and it's view only, I go to the 3 dots, I go to make a copy, and then I'm going to go one step further. And I'm going to put it into this folder, and notice it's right there on top because I wanted it to be easy to find. I'm going to put it in my Jamboard folder. By putting it there, I changed all of the titles to say template Jamboard so that I could very easily find it. And I'm going to put it specifically in that folder. And then I hit select, I hit OK, and it's now, I have a copy of it. And that copy I can then edit, I can assign in Google Classroom, which reminds me, I wanted to show you how to do that very quickly because I have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. So the other links that are here, so the one pager, which is what I was talking about, is also in the Sketch or sked, however you want to pronounce that word. And this one is, these are all links. And so in that template folder, so the folder is right there, hashtag Jamboard. I've given you a QFT. So if you went to that morning keynote where he was talking about the QFT, you could use that. You could do Jamboard for that. Math reps is becoming my newest hobby, I guess. I don't teach math, but I have small children who need to do math. And the math reps have created kindergarten, first grade, second grade, fifth grade, and they're kind of working their way through all of the grades. And they're going to share that with like the world, which is so nice. I was going to attempt to show you how to do it in Google Classroom. It's just not working for me right now. So it's very easy. And if you use Google Classroom, the ability to share a Jamboard, if you don't use Google Classroom, you can share it with the link. You can share it with email. So you can email Jamboard to potential people, and you set the settings. You set and you decide if you want them to be view only or you want them to have editing privileges. So if I were to, and I'm going to use a class that doesn't exist anymore, but that's okay. The nice part is I can assign this Jamboard very, very quickly into Google Classroom, and I'm going to just show you how to do that. And if you're using Google Classroom, you can add it from your Google Drive. Since it lives there, it makes it very easy to locate and find. That is why I also recommend creating a folder so that you can readily find them. And if they're there and you have made a copy of it and you know where that copy is, it's much easier to then put it as an assignment in Google Classroom, if it's going to work for me. And so I have that drive. And this is a wonderful time to show you that. Here is the Jamboard folder that I have curated for you. I did not create all of these. So full disclosure, I have taken, borrowed, copied them from a variety of different sources. All of those sources are in that resource slide in my presentation. So there's a Frayer model for another EduProtocol. There's QFT, inference, what do you see, what do you notice? And you're gonna you have access to this folder, and you have now, I think I counted and there was like over 40, but it's kind of my way of saying, hey, this is, and the more you play, and that is kind of the joy of a Jamboard, is you get to play. If you teach littles, you can use this for phonics. You can use sticky notes. My daughter loves sticky notes. She thinks they are like the funnest thing ever. And if I'm in Google Classroom, I have the option of giving them view-only access, which probably wouldn't work for littles. I can give them everybody edit access, but as we saw, some of you deleted other things, and that's part of the course. It just kind of happens. Or I can make a copy for each student. So each student gets their own copy of this Jamboard. And maybe I want to do a check-in. Maybe I want to have them interact with me, or to kind of do what I did in the beginning, where you had that check-in and I said, grab a sticky note, put your name in one of those columns. So that is how you would assign it in Google Classroom. I'm not going to actually do that. Students might freak out a little bit. Let me show you the actual folder too, because that you have view-only access to this entire folder, but it is linked in my presentation. It's also linked on my one-pager. So if you look through this, folder, you'll probably find at least one or two that are going to give you like a, oh my gosh, I never thought of that, or I never thought, oh, I could do that. You get 20 frames, so that's 20 different things that you can ask students to do, and you get you have edit access, and you get to control who actually has access to that. And of course, Now the folder does not want to open. Here we go. And so each of these is actually titled template. And I did my best to title them in such a way that made it a little bit easier to understand. So you don't have to open all 45 of these. But so the math reps, so there's first grade, second grade, third grade, kinder. And these are really good for that basic math literacy. Fifth grade has been shared as well. Emotional template, the check-in is really kind of like an emotional check-in where I used emojis. I think somebody was asking, I'm on a Mac, so I use the Emoji Keyboard. The Emoji Keyboard is also available on a Chromebook. If you're on the app, if you're on an iPad, you have sticker options and you have a lot of other choices. And that's kind of the joy of a Jamboard is I just like to play. I like to kind of take my Apple Pencil and say, what can I create now? What can I share? And sharing all of these templates is kind of like the easiest thing that I could have done for all of you. And I wanted you to have that opportunity. I do not know if it works with Seesaw, so now I'm coming into the chat. Ileana, we have like, what, 4 minutes left?
We go to 12:20.
12:20. Oh, wow. All right. So I could slow down here. So the Google Meet and integration with Jamboard is supposed to be coming if you follow all of that, along with like the breakout rooms and all of those wonderful things that haven't actually happened yet. So I'm really hoping that happens before August 26th. So let me kind of come through. If you want to go ahead and just ask a question, you have permission now to kind of unmute, and I'll keep my screen shared so I can pop in and show you various things. All of the templates are actually in 2 different places. So they're in this presentation. Let me see if I can do that one. Yes. Let's see here. So if you have my presentation, and Ileana, if you could put the bit.ly back in there, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I can actually just go back up to the slide. But if you have view-only access to this presentation, the Jamboard folder is just that. It is the folder that I have shared with essentially all of you, and it is view only. So you have view only access to all 45 of those templates. It is also on this one pager. And so I've kind of given you multiple ways to find that. The one pager also has a bit.ly in the SCED. So I have actually put it there as well. I've kind of given you, I know, a lot to play with and a lot to think about. So the templates themselves, if you were going to, first one. The template that you were playing in earlier where there were the random emoji paragraph is one of my favorite Edu protocols, which, you know, probably not the best time, but it is a way to have students write. And I said, you know, you have this sticky note option, and you can make those sticky notes as big or as little as you want. Now it's not opening. Let me give it just a second. The Tech Fairies, who are on their blog, they posted recently 10 creative ways to use Jamboard. There is a how-to article that was from Matt Miller just last week as well, on how to use Jamboard in a classroom with remote learning. And that's the copy of, that's not the one I want. And now my computer is frozen. This is awesome. Thank you, computer. This folder though has, if it's gonna open, and I don't think it's going to. So I'm gonna reference back to my Twitter handle because now my computer is frozen. Let me come back here. So this also, if you have a problem or you have like a question that it's not working, because right now my computer is not working, feel free to email me or reach out on Twitter because I will respond very quickly. If we look at these ideas again and all of the ideas that you can use Jamboard for, the idea here is you could also take it like next level and have your students record their thought process and have them kind of build a Jamboard if it is unlocked for them, and it is a core service. So if it's not unlocked in your district, I would encourage you to kind of reach out to those powers that be and say, we need access to this. It's a whiteboard. It's giving kids an opportunity to talk to each other, to actually communicate and show me as the teacher, show me what they know. And if I don't have that ability, then how am I actually going to, share this? How am I going to respond in kind? If you have a Gmail account, you should have access to Jamboard. The Google Meet integration is kind of going to be hopefully a game changer when that is actually rolled out. Because it is part of the G Suite, because it is part of the core service in the Google for Education. If you have an education account, it should be in your waffle. And that one is not blocked right now. And that one is right there in your waffle. If you are logged into your Google account, it's right there in my waffle, Google Jamboard, or go to jamboard.google.com. So there are 3 different ways to get there. My computer won't accommodate me right now. If I wanted to add a sticky note, you have the transparent sticky note option, which is kind of fun if you want to like mess with their heads and give them options, and then you can move them around, which is super fun. It kind of messes with their head as long as you're in the select mode there, and you can, play around and say, wow, it's moving all by itself. It's just great. I do have one other Mentimeter too, and I almost totally forgot about that, which this one is going to be a word cloud where the question is, how will you use Jamboard in the fall? And I did not put the code there. So if you want to do that one, it's going to be a word cloud, and I can actually put that word cloud up in about 2 minutes. If you want to play around with templates, you have those, and I'm trying to answer. If you want to unmute now and ask any questions, please feel free to do so. I use an Apple Pencil and my iPad on the mobile app and have a lot more freedom and capability to actually do the handwriting recognition, the drawing recognition, and shape recognition. So if you have that, I also have a Chromebook, but with the Chromebook on an actual device, it does not have the same tools that my Apple iPad does. So I very much enjoy using using it on my iPad, and then it saves to my Google Drive. You can't insert voice in Jamboard. You can insert from your Google Drive. And if you're on a mobile device, you have a lot more capabilities to do that. Let's see, the templates are still not opening. This is not working for me. Thank you, Emily. Still, oh man, my computer's not working.
Can I ask a question?
Maybe, there we go. Now it'll open. So in this folder, there we go. That was the problem. Let's get these templates are just things to allow you to play around with Jamboard. So if I open the 4 corners one, each one of these is view only. So you can't, you won't be able to edit it until you actually go to the 3 dots. And you have the ability to just kind of use this as motivation, inspiration, so to speak. If you think that you have something that you really, really want to use this for, that would just kind of be like a game changer. My internet is currently unstable, so we're kind of gonna cross our fingers. This holds out for 5 more minutes. But this is a 4 corners. So if you had asked students a question, and I can actually duplicate this, the other thing I forgot to show you. So this is only 1 frame, but I can go to, so kind of similar to like if I wanted to file, make copy, actually not file, duplicate. If I wanted to copy this entire frame, I can go up here to the top and I get a maximum of 20 frames. I can go to the expand frame bar, and those 3 little dots give me the option of duplicating it. So if I have a class of, let's say like 24, and I wanted to assign students to a particular slide, I said, your frame number 1. And then I could say to the students, you know, like, here's your frame number. I would add maybe a sticky note with directions on this 4 corners and have them place their name on a sticky note. Maybe I ask them a question in Google Meet, or I ask them a question in Zoom, and I want them to talk about it. I want them to put themselves into one of those places, kind of like a beginning of a debate, so to speak. I could use this 4 corners template, which is already built for you. You just have to decide, well, how many frames do I need? And then I can add a sticky note over here on the side, which says like, hey, here's the directions, here's the 4 students that I want on this frame, and then kind of just, you know, let them loose, so to speak. And then there's there's lots of templates here. So if you are like a elementary and you teach math at any point in time, the Math Reps ladies, so that's Lisa Nowakowski on Twitter, she's actually going through and making Jamboards for every level of math. And as I find them, I'm going to continue adding to this folder. So this is kind of like a living document, so to speak, where it will continually be there. And you can play with all of these. There's a random emoji paragraph, which is what you guys got to kind of play with a little bit, where I just put the emojis and then hid them under Post-it notes, and then said, okay, now it's time for you to, you know, here's the template that I created. So move the sticky notes, and I would give students edit access to this. I make them a copy actually in Google Classroom, and then they'd be able to create them and then turn it in to me. And there will be a recording of this. So Ileana, can I hand it back to you now?
Yes, actually, I'll say hello. This is actually Jenny Thomas. Ileana is at lunch.
Better.
We have,
Even
yeah.
better.
So I just want to thank everybody. I'm going to quickly share my screen here, I believe, and share. I just want to thank everyone for coming. A reminder, just a quick reminder that in the SCED there is feedback. We appreciate your feedback, but this is about to become our lunchtime, and we want you to go out and, you know, grab some lunch, but come on back to the computer. And from our SCED, we want you to join in our lunchtime equity series, if you will. Dr. Charles Brown and Dr. Talisa Sullivan will be sharing with us. So we hope you guys can grab some lunch and come on back and eat while we listen to some wonderful inspiration. And thank you so much, Brianna, and thank you everyone for attending. Thank you so much. Brianna, thank you.
No problem.
I have teachers in my district in Menifee that are so excited about using Jamboard. I did see one question that I'm not sure if you were able to get to in the chat, and I have it, selfishly I have it too. Do you recommend a certain pen to work on the Jamboard?
Well, I personally have, I use on my iPad, I create them with
yeah.
my Apple Pencil, but
Yes.
I have not yet found one that works with my Chromebook.
Gotcha.
So,
Wonderful.
like the
Yeah,
Chromebook
somebody was
version of Jamboard isn't quite as fun, but the iPad version is a total game changer because the iPad version also gives you the handwriting.
Mhm.
Recognition, the shape recognition, and drawing. Like, is this what you meant? And I'm like, nope. Let me try again. Because I don't know how to draw, apparently.
Wonderful. We need to go ahead and end the session. It's 12:21,
Okay.
and we do have our speakers getting started very shortly. Again, thank you so much. And thank you
No
to all of our
problem.
attendees. You guys are amazing.